Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's been making the rounds online, a viral philosophy that lays out this whole roadmap for changing a boy's mindset into a man's mindset. It all comes down to 5 core pillars, so let's just jump right in and see what this is all about. So, right out of the gate, the video hits you with this really direct question. And the whole argument is this: the real difference between a boy and a man, it's got nothing to do with how old you are. Nope, it's all about mindset. Okay, so what is this core distinction then? Well, the video paints a really clear, kind of black and white picture of 2 different ways of thinking. Let's break down how it defines them. All right, so on one side, you've got the boy mindset. And according to this, it's all about blaming other people for your problems and always looking for validation from the outside. But then you flip over to the man mindset, and it's the total opposite. We're talking about taking 100% responsibility and having your own clear purpose in life, something that comes from within. It also gets into being easily distracted versus, and I love this phrase, selfishly guarding your priorities. And instead of breaking under pressure, you actually use that pressure to grow. So how do you get from one to the other? This whole philosophy says it's built on 5 key pillars. Let's get to the first one, the foundation. So here we go. Pillar number 1, responsibility. And the way the video frames this, it's not just a pillar, it's the absolute bedrock of this whole transformation. This is where it all starts. Wow. Okay, to really drive this point home, the source uses this super provocative quote from author David Deida: "Live as if your father were dead." And the idea here is to introduce this concept of just total ownership. No more dependency on anyone or anything else. You know, this mindset shift they're talking about is absolutely central to the whole philosophy. It's this idea of going from someone who relies on a support system to someone who is the support system, first for yourself and then down the line for other people too. It's this internal switch from being the sun to being the pillar that's presented as that first real step. All right, pillar number 2 is called the discipline of suffering. And this one tackles something we all have to deal with, right? Pain. But it suggests a pretty specific and, kind of controversial way to handle it. So this is where the philosophy directly challenges that modern idea that men should open up more. In fact, it calls it a trap. The argument goes that, deep down, society doesn't really want to hear about a man's vulnerabilities, and that sharing them can actually make you lose respect. And this right here, this quote just perfectly captures the core metaphor they're using. The idea is that pain isn't something you run from or even share. It's a force you have to endure. Hardship is literally positioned as the tool, the fire that forges a boy's character into a man's strength. Okay, let's move on to the third pillar, which is called the warrior's duality. And this is all about exploring what the source says is this super important balance between peace and power. Now, to be clear, the idea here isn't about promoting aggression or looking for fights. It's more about cultivating this state of, constant readiness. The goal is to build up the physical capacity for action, but, and this is key, while having complete and total self-control over it. So, this whole capability is framed as being purely defensive. In this philosophy, the ideal is always to resolve conflict peacefully without violence. But you have to have that unwavering ability to step up and act decisively if and only if it's absolutely necessary to protect the people you love. All right. Pillar 4 is all about forging your own inner power, and it says you have to start by locking down your own priorities first. The video argues this is an absolute must, a prerequisite before you can build any genuine real-world strength. And this idea flows right into the final pillar. So it actually reframes the word selfishness. It's not about being a jerk. It's about a strategic necessity. It's about protecting your time, your goals, your life's purpose from all the distractions out there. The argument is, without that laser focus on what really matters to you, you'll never reach your full potential because you'll just be pulled in a million different directions by what everyone else wants. And that so-called selfish focus, that becomes the foundation for the 5th and final pillar, which is all about building real-world power. And it's broken down into these 5 parts. First up, you've got financial power. That's framed as the key to your freedom. Then physical power, which is about building confidence and just being capable. Third is mental power and discipline, which gives you consistency. And then finally, the last 2 are about protecting all that power you've built. That means avoiding what the video calls weakening addictions and the wrong partners. Basically anything that's just going to drain your energy and pull you off course. So, All of this brings us to the video's final point, its big conclusion. And it puts all the responsibility for this entire transformation right on the individual. This is not something that just happens to you as you get older. Yeah, this whole framework is laid out as a path that you have to consciously, deliberately choose to walk down. The final message is super clear. You can stay on the easy path of comfort and distraction, or you can choose to follow these pillars and blaze a completely different trail. The video makes it plain. The choice is 100% yours. So, this viral philosophy, it offers one very specific, very stark answer to that big question. It lays out this ideal of a disciplined, self-reliant, almost stoic man. And it really leaves the rest of us to think about, well, what's the right answer for ourselves? And that's it for this explainer. Thanks for tuning in.